Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 28th December 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TRSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to discuss and analyze about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been trying to do in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this video and this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the past few videos, we have been trying to understand, discuss about, and analyze in great detail a particular term that is frequently used in the psyche and life of every human living entity, whether male or female, in a lifetime in the society of this material world. This particular very important term is known as mind. Mind is a subtle force that is used as or is already existing as the main driving instrument of this vehicle called the human living entity, whether male or female in the society. Every individual human living entity, regardless of his or her sex, has one individual mind. That particular mind is the main driving instrument of controlling, regulating, monitoring, and leading this particular living entity to its main aim in any lifetime in this material world. As is the quality and evolvement of the mind, as the that living entity reacts in the society. There is one English proverb: you are judged by the company you keep. Similarly, you become what you think. The individual living entity thinks from that particular mind. The subtle form of mind is safely entwined with the three layers of subtle body that envelop the individual spirit soul with four layers of subtle body. The fifth, the three layers of subtle body. These three layers are the causal body of intelligence and logic, the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions, and the etheric body of five senses, namely sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. There is a fourth layer called gross body made up of four natural elements that emanate out of the subtle first element, ether. These four elements are air, fire, water, and earth. And ether in the space in the material world is the first element that makes the three layers of subtle body and the two elements called mind and ego. The first element of the four that make up this gross body, air, emanates out of this ether. Ether is the first element from which air emanates to make this gross body. From the air emanates another form of natural element called fire. From fire emanates the third type of natural element called water, and from water emanates the fourth type of natural element called earth. Air, fire, water, and earth make up this gross body. In this gross body, there is a element or a figment or an extension called the skull. In this skull, in the place of the cranium of that skull, is safely embedded a mass of tissue known as the brain. Every human living entity, whether male or female, has one particular brain. This brain is the main instrument that takes the vibrations from the mind, which is subtle in nature. This subtle mind is entwined with the other three layers of material body that envelop the spirit soul. Vibrations emanate out of all these three subtle bodies continuously, beginning 9 months before a living entity, whether male or female, is born, and ending with the last birth of that particular living entity in that particular lifetime. These vibrations use this mind as a repository of those vibrations. This mind, after initially processing those vibrations, transmits them to that mass of tissue in the skull of the gross body of a living entity called brain. This brain selects some of these vibrations based on the following factors: the destiny, the karma, the birth, the surroundings, the atmosphere, the peer pressure, knowledge, experience, maturity, choices, preferences, whims, and fantasies of that particular living entity. When these vibrations are chosen by the brain, it begins processing these vibrations. When it processes these vibrations, it is able to extract a juice out of such processing, out of those select few vibrations. These select few vibrations may belong to the causal body of intelligence, the astral body of mind, or the etheric body of senses, or a permutation and combination of all these three subtle layers of bodies. Anyway, whatever juice is extracted from this selection of vibrations is percolated down the gross body of that living entity by the same brain. This gross body of the living entity acts in the society or reacts in the society according to the quality of the juice so percolated down his or her gross body. In other words, the qualities, maturity, intrinsic worth, experience, and other faculties of one living entity depends on his or her reactions according to the juice so percolated by the brain of that particular living entity. Even here, let me remind you that the living entity may be the same, but his or her actions and reactions differ according to the stages that that particular living entity has did in that lifetime. Now we will see how the selection of these vibrations of the same brain depends on the infancy, babyhood, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, middle age, and old age of the same living entity. At different stages, the same living entity acts differently. Similarly, these actions and reactions based on the choice of vibrations also vary according to the cerebral maturity, education, experience, and maturity of the same living entity. Initially, the brain of that living entity chose only vibrations from the etheric body of senses. As he or she grew slightly older, there was a combination of vibrations from the etheric body of senses plus the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions. As the person grew further and he or she acquired more knowledge, experience, and maturity, the vibrations from the causal body of intelligence join the vibrations from the astral body of mind and the etheric body of senses in deciding about the quality of juice that emanates out of the processing of the choice of these vibrations. The actions and reactions of the same living entity depend on the choices from that particular juice. We can safely say that the same living entity, whether male or female, would have acted differently in various stages of biological and maturity based life of the same particular living entity. An infant, a baby, a child, an adolescent, an adult, a middle-aged person, and a old-age person in the same lifetime reacts differently to the circumstances that he or she faces in this society thanks to the vibrations selected by the brain and juice extracted out of such selection and percolated down the body of that particular living entity. That is precisely the reason why, when a person looks back at his or her own deeds of a particular life while being in leisure, he or she may either laugh at his or her actions and reactions or deeply regret having done such foolhardy actions or reactions. The infant, baby, child, etc. are extremely innocent. Maturity starts creeping in slowly from adolescence. But even here, that particular living entity is considered a minor by the society because it sincerely believes that the cerebral faculties of that particular living entity have not fully developed in this society. It is only when that living entity reaches adulthood at the age of 18 or 20 or 21 like that. Does this society think that now this person is responsible for his or her actions in this society or reactions in this society? Here I would hasten to add that the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions is very different from the mind that we are talking about. Why? I would like to elucidate on this topic. The first two layers are the spirit soul and the causal body of intelligence and logic. The third part is this astral body of mind. Below this mind is the pair of the etheric body of senses and the gross body of the living entity. Shortly speaking, or concisely speaking, this astral body of mind is in between two different paths. The first one consists of or comprises of the spirit soul and the causal body of intelligence, whereas the second pair comprises of the etheric body of senses and the gross body. The mind that we are talking about, that is precisely the reason, is considered to be different from this astral body of mind. The mind that we are trying to discuss and analyze is one which includes vibrations from the etheric body of senses, the astral body of mind, and the causal body of intelligence. Besides this, some vibrations may be emanating through the individual spirit soul also, depending upon the evolvement, maturity, and experience of a living entity. These emanations from the spirit soul may also be considered by his or her full mind before transmitting it to the brain. There are cases where living entities have acted according to the vibrations from their individual spirit soul. They have not considered those vibrations from the four layers of material body. But this is very rare and it usually happens to those exalted human living entities, whether male or female, who have devoted their complete life for the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Monks, saints, rishis, maharishis, evangelists, etc. are those who can boast of thinking through their soul. But in other cases of mundane human living entities, they listen only to the vibrations from the etheric body of senses, the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions, and the causal body of intelligence and logic. Now we will discuss further how this particular mind operates and why. We know by now that of the collection of living entities in this society in a particular lifetime, there are three categories. One is that of the mundane, vegetative, zombie like living entities who go about in that lifetime in the society thinking that they have only come here to vegetate and enjoy or suffer the activities of the material world according to their own destiny and karma. These are very normal living entities. We all initially belong to this category only. As we over several births and get evolved further, we may or may not reach either of the other two categories. The other two categories comprise of 25% of living entities, whether male or female. Of these, 20% are those who are attracted by and gravitate towards the dark negative forces of this material world in a lifetime. Here I would hasten to add that these dark negative forces were in existence even before this lifetime and will continue to exist even after the end of this lifetime. There is an English proverb: politics is the fruit of history, and history is the root of politics. In other words, what happened in history in a lifetime decides upon the actions of reactions in that particular living lifetime by those existing living entities. Similarly, the collective actions and reactions of the past and this lifetime decide what would be the actions or reactions of living entities of the next lifetime. This is a process that goes on till a life exists in this society. When we talk about the dark negative forces, we must grudgingly acknowledge and accept that the actions and reactions in one particular lifetime of the living entities existing during that lifetime depends on the history of dark negative forces that is resplendent with the actions and reactions of other now dead living entities of the past in the previous lifetime. We shall discuss about this particular subject in detail in my next video. This is all I wanted to talk about on this subject in this particular video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular subject. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, ideas, and opinions so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.